Great. So, this is our third meetup, and our conversation today is all about the word limitless and what this even means for us. It's a key word in our name as a community. So, I wanted to bring that up. In the first session, we talked about who we are, why we're here. The second session, we talked about confidence, but this word can be pretty loaded just by itself. So, as you read this word on screen, limitless, what comes up for you? What definitions, what questions, what feeling, what comes up for you when you first read it? Feel free to either come off mute or throw it in the chat. Just saying this word, what comes up?
I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, this word really resonates with me, actually. So positive feelings come up for me when I see this. I also think about like not having fixed boundaries, I would say. I tend to thrive in situations in scenarios like that. So overall, I would say it's a positive association. How about anybody else?
I see in the chat, possible, no barriers. Thank you for sharing. What else? What comes up? Any hesitations around this word? I can share a few things I've heard from some clients or people that I have been in conversation with this word limitless. We tend to lead with limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs, limiting stories. Limitless might feel a little far away for some of us. So I love to hear that there's positive association because that's what I'm hoping this community builds and continues to breed that positive association with this word because we truly are limitless if we believe we are. So I want to share a little bit of my story on this word because I didn't really realize how loaded this word was for me until very recently. So, and I mean very recently, I think I was looking for a picture to post about the community in my socials. And when I searched on my phone, Limitless, this picture came up. And if you notice in the very back on the screen, it says Limitless. And it brought up so many feelings and this huge rush of this reminder of what this event was all about, how I felt during this time. So I wanted to share that with you all today because I truly did not associate that time to why I'm creating this community until I saw this picture. So this was 2019, pre-pandemic, and in a time where I like to say that we were doing a lot of diversity and inclusion work before it was cool to do in 2020, right? But what's really interesting is this group, Limitless, was our women's employee resource group in the organization that I worked at. And even though the word was limitless, I'll be very honest and say it was pretty exclusive in terms of what resources we were able to get. So I was one of the ones as HR to help support the group, but I myself did not receive any of the trainings that we were providing or any of the resources that we were providing this very small group of women leaders that were allowed to be in Limitless until this was for Women's Week in March 2019. And they were planning an event. Again, I really wasn't involved, but they were planning an event for Women's Week. And one of our partners offered up Lupita Infante, who you'll see in the middle. She was just coming up. And they offered her to come and perform and to be a part of a panel if we wanted to. The group that was putting this event together didn't know who she was, didn't even know the name Infantes. If you happen to know, it's a pretty popular name in especially Mexican music. And they were looking for somebody that could create an event because she was being offered up from one of our partners. I was one of the only Latinas at all in the group. So it was offered to me as an opportunity. And this technically was my first speaking engagement. I got to interview her and create this event around. But it was extremely nerve-wracking because I wasn't involved in the group. I wasn't really allowed to be part of the Limitless group. And it was my first event. And we were bringing mariachi into the office, and it felt so foreign. And at that time, very honestly, it was a moment of fear, a little bit of, oh my gosh, am I allowed to be my authentic self? I love mariachi music. Can I even bring up, a little bit of my background? Like all these feelings of hiding definitely came up. But as the event went on, I saw myself, really relating to Lupita, throwing in some Spanish words, really talking about mariachi music and really just making it as authentic as possible at a time when honestly authenticity wasn't something that we were really leading with. And that wasn't even that long ago. After the event, I had so many people come up and thank me for the visibility, for the authenticity. Some people were shocked that I was Latina, which is another conversation. But it was just a moment of this event was special because we brought our authentic selves. We brought something that was new and different at the time for the group to see, especially very, marketing advertising is not as diverse as we would hope. It is hopefully getting there now. But this was a moment where we could really lead with this idea of we can be limitless if we choose to be, and we choose to bring our full authentic selves. So all these ideas and thoughts came rushing when I saw this picture because I'm like, what a difference in how we can feel, our confidence, our ability to think in a limitless way, to have this limitless mindset if we actually tie it back to being authentic. So I wanted to share that because that word can bring up so many different challenges, so many different feelings, but it's what we define it as that makes the difference. So, limitless mindset and a definition I want to offer up for you all is that it is the belief that your potential is not fixed and that who you become is shaped more by your willingness to learn, to grow, and to take action than by your past, your circumstances, or your fears. And I know that's a loaded sentence, but this is something I want to call out a couple keywords. Your potential is not fixed. You can always learn, you can always grow, and you can always take action, but it's a choice if you choose to lean into that. Taking action, learning, and growing can override any fears about inadequacy, any fears about our past. Well, nobody in my family has done it before, or hey, this is the first time we're going to bring this kind of event. What is that going to be? Right? All these different circumstances that can stop us because we haven't seen it. But as first gen leaders, we're trailblazing all kinds of new paths that people haven't seen before. And that's okay, but they can see it now. And we can provide that visibility and we can provide those opportunities for others to also have this limitless mindset when they see what's possible. So, a couple of thoughts I want to bring up with this idea of limitless mindset and three big reminders is one, your past does not determine your future. It can inform it. We all have stories, backgrounds, cultures, religions, the way we grew up, our family's history. We all come with a story. But that story can also be rewritten at any moment, again, if you choose to. So your past, again, I hear this a lot. Well, nobody in my family went to college, or nobody in my family started a business, nobody in my family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, doesn't mean that it's going to 100% dictate what you're able to do moving forward. I want to pause here for a second. When you read this statement, your past doesn't determine your future. Does anyone have any questions or challenges or thoughts that are coming up for you on this one? Does this make sense? Your past doesn't determine your future. Do we believe that? Having no roadmap is huge. That's the big challenge, right? A lot of us are exactly figuring it out as we go. Uh, Dr. Jaime, you took off your mute button. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, just when I what I think about this is when you the way you were raised does not define your future. So a lot of the times for me personally, like being my parents had there's a saying that I like is my parents' fears are not my fears,
Mm,
right? So the way that they lived their life and what the teachings they ingrained to me was the best they could based off of their vision of the world. But my vision of the world is going to be different. So I can't be limited by their fears. I have to be able to challenge those and continue with those. So their fears are not going to limit my future.
beautiful. Yeah. And what's interesting too, kind of to that point, I want to remind, I may have shared this in a previous one, but I want to remind everybody that we also all have our own filters. So, your parents for sure are going to provide part of your filter, but you're also collecting so much information from media, from society, from your religion, from the corporate setting you're in. You're collecting all these moments of, well, nobody on that leadership team looks like me, or all these stories that maybe somebody have said something to you directly or that we're interpreting based on what they've said. We all have our own set of filters, the same way that three of us on screen have glasses. We all have different prescriptions, right? We're all going to see the world very differently based on our past. But the cool thing is that we can, at any point, rewrite the stories looking forward. Our prescription's always going to change a little bit, right? If especially if we're keeping up with it and maintenance and going after it to make sure that we're seeing the world in a much clearer way, however we choose to see it. Okay, second one. You can learn almost anything. So a lot of times I'll hear a lot of limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs like, well, I don't know how to, or I don't have the experience, or I'm not ready. And I like to offer up the most powerful word. You don't have that yet, right? We choose what we want to learn, and we have, thankfully, an infinite source of resources, right? There is no limitation of where you can gather information through books, through podcasts, through conversations, through formal education. There's so many different ways to learn. The difference is, what are you doing with it? If there's something you want to pursue, but you don't have that experience yet, what are you willing to learn? And this one is really interesting too, because a lot of times I'll hear, recently I had a conversation where I heard somebody say, well, I might not be smart enough for that kind of role. Well, define smart enough because we all learn differently. If I ask everyone in the room right now, define smart, we're all going to have slightly different variations, right? The point is, what are you willing to learn? How curious are you willing to be to go after whatever future you're looking to design? That's a huge reminder, having this limitless mindset that you can learn pretty much anything. See some hearts? Yeah. Before I move on to the next one, any other thoughts, questions, challenges to this one? I want you to challenge me back, right? We're all learning here. So, this is, again, a really important piece to remember. You can learn almost anything. And the last reminder, especially tapping into our limitless mindset, is that you create possibilities through action. So many times we sit and wait until we're ready. And there's so many stories out there in Proverbs, right, where it's like we're waiting for the door to open, but there's a window right over there if you're looking for it. How do we make sure that we are also creating our realities, creating the realities we want? We can only do that through action, having the conversation, picking up that book, taking that course, coming to these meetings and meeting other people that can inspire you or that you can learn from. That action step is going to be everything. And that's what it means to have a limitless mindset.
I wanted to
Thoughts?
address
Go
this one. Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Um, One of the best pieces of advice I got unexpectedly came from Jenna Fisher's book. Jenna Fisher, who plays
Hmm.
Pam on
The
the
office?
in the Office, and she was talking about like how she was in Hollywood and auditioning. And I think in this part of the book, she had auditioned for The Office, but was waiting to hear back. And one of the things she said was like how you have to stay in motion, right? Like act while you're like, don't just sit around and wait. And
Mhm.
so she would just act anywhere, like act everywhere. And just like that's what she wanted to do was to be an actor. And so she would just take on all these roles while she was still waiting to hear back from the office. And I don't know, there's that just really stayed with me and how not not just act, but sometimes you have to create your own thing, right? Even if you don't see it. I just yeah, that really just stayed with me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I got to read that book. I haven't read it yet. Other thoughts, reflections when you read this? You can throw it in the chat or come off mute or challenges to this. You create possibilities through action. Yeah. Elizabeth, that's really powerful. You keep trying because you may never know what could happen. 100%. The consistency is huge too, I will say. A lot of times we might try things once and then it didn't work out and we give up and we're done, right? But it's that showing up. And what's really interesting is a lot of us have a really complicated relationship with failure and the word failure. Well, what if I fail? What if it doesn't go well? What if it doesn't go the way I planned? Or what if you learn something from it? Keep trying. You never know what could happen. Very cool. I think I may have got ahead, but I want to focus on some very common limiting ideas and limiting thoughts and beliefs that I personally hear a lot from clients or from people that I'm working with. And I'm curious if you've said this, thought this, have heard others say this, or think this too. But when you say or think or hear others say, I'm not ready, how can you shift that from a limiting thought to a limitless thought? Throw it in the chat. Limiting to limitless. I'm not ready. Has anyone ever said this, by the way? I'm not ready. Yeah. I kind of gave the answer earlier. One of my favorite words to tap on to any limiting thought is yet. I'm not ready yet. So what do I need to do to get ready? I kind of said this one earlier too, but what if I fail? Well, what if you learn something from it? What if you don't fail and you actually succeed and get everything you wanted by trying? I don't have the right connections yet, right? Spaces like this is where we start to create those connections. Lizbeth, you mentioned academic advisor. I know someone in the room who's in higher ed, so there might be some opportunities to at least learn. There's all these different pieces that we never know when we might find the right connections, but we need to go find them. We need to go to that networking opportunity. We need to put ourselves out there, reach out, take that action. People like me don't get opportunities like that. Maybe not yet. I personally didn't see very many HR leaders, heads of HR that were Latina. Not yet, right? There's a lot that's we're still undoing and still breaking these glass ceilings. It's going to take some time, but that doesn't mean that we can't be those people to lead the way. Yes, it can be exhausting charting your path. You said it earlier with no roadmap, but somebody's got to do it. Why not you? And the last one, it's too late for me. I hear this a lot, especially when I'm working with senior leaders. Oh no, it's too late for me to go back to school. It's too late for me to do this, to do that. I personally believe that as long as you're still alive and breathing, it's never too late. Some of the best things. I love those stories that so and so started their business at 55, 65, 75, right? We never know what's in store for us, but we have to take action. We have to know that we can always learn and we need to move forward and build that community. Any thoughts or questions on this? Okay. So, as we come to the end of the lesson portion, I want us to spend some time reflecting on some of these questions. And if you're watching the recording or, you can pause it here, take some time to write these down. But first, we're going to complete the sentence. To me, a limitless mindset means having your own definition is going to be incredibly important because I can give you a definition, but if you don't believe it or if you're not creating your own, it's not going to be as impactful. What's one limiting thought you want to reframe? Anything that either came up in some of the examples we've had or anything that you have on your own? And then we're going to talk about some action steps because if you fully believed that you were limitless, what's one possibility that you want to create for yourself over the next 5 months, which is so crazy. We only have 5 months left of the year. And what's one action that you're going to take this month to move toward that possibility? For my friends in the room, we're going to come back to this slide, but just to end our lesson, for those watching the recording, since you couldn't make it with us today, save the date for September 2nd, 5 p.m. We'll see you here.